This is Twit.
Big story just broke. Two big stories just broke.
Yep.
Mobile World Congress has been canceled.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jennifer Aniston turned 51. But yeah, that's a big story too.
And J.Ann turned 51. Yeah, Mobile World Congress, because of the coronavirus, the GSM Association, which runs the conference, just this morning sent out an email saying, yeah, I think some of it is not fear of coronavirus. I think some of it is
no
the
one
fact
showing up.
there's no one, everybody else is, yes, Sony is now dropped out, LG, a lot of companies. Nokia.
Amazon, Sony, yep.
Big long list, MediaTek.
Yeah.
But not Microsoft. Microsoft was going to stick with it.
I
In
know.
fact, they were bugging me as recently as yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know.
really? Wow.
They're like,
Wow.
oh, we never heard back from you. You're coming? I'm like, I don't know if you noticed, but the whole world is not coming.
You've gone, in many years in the past, I've always been very jealous because it's held in Barcelona, which is one of my favorite cities.
Oh, God. It is literally right neck and neck with Paris for me.
Yeah, I would
Wow.
agree. I put it right there. What tell us about Mobile World Congress and what its importance is?
Well, it's the biggest. Well, it's a mobile. Obviously, as its name says, it's a mobile show, but it's a phone show. It started out as, well, I don't know if it started out, but back the first I had ever heard of it, it was back in the cell phone days.
Right.
And it used to be held right in the middle of Barcelona. Like they moved it out to a giant modern facility in the middle of nowhere. But it is, it's in Barcelona, right? So I love going to Barcelona.
Yeah.
But I couldn't swing it this year because Microsoft had nothing interesting to announce.
In the past, a lot of phones were shown and announced there. That's become less and less the case, right, Mary Jo?
Yeah, and last year was the HoloLens too. So last year was huge for Microsoft.
For us, yeah.
Yeah.
But not this year so much.
I wonder, this is going to happen. And obviously the biggest players in the mobile world, Samsung, Apple, et cetera, have their own shows anyway.
Yeah, Samsung had a big show yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I bet a lot of these companies are going to be like, why are we going to this show every year?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's what was going on. I mean, so many companies didn't. There was no cost to them to cancel. It was like, oh thank God.
Well, a lot of the big. Well, Asia is the biggest center now, but I think back in the day, the big center for this stuff was in Europe, and that's why probably why it is in Europe. But when you think about it, it would make more sense for this thing to be in somewhere in Asia.
IFA is the other big conference. That's in Berlin every year, but that won't be till this summer. That almost certainly IFA will.
Yeah, we'll all be dead or everything will be fine. Either way.
It seems a little bit like overreaction. I
Well,
almost feel like,
you
do
know
they
what?
know something we don't know?
But what do you think is going to happen with Computex? That's what I was wondering.
That's in Taiwan. That's a big one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When's that? Is that
That's
soon?
usually like May, right?
Yeah.
Around May.
Well, didn't the organizers of Mobile World Congress prevent or try to prevent people from a certain part of China from even coming to the show?
Did they?
Yeah, they said
back
if
when they
you're
were still
from
having it.
Hubei province, you can't.
wow.
Computex this year is June. And,
June.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about epidemiology. But what I've been reading is that these viruses kind of, and I think the president told me this, the viruses calm down in the summer when it gets hot.
Because they get tired.
They get tired. So
If you go back and watch Night of the Living Dead and they have radio and TV broadcasts going on in the background, you'll notice that canceling Mobile World Congress was one of the expected causes of the zombie
interesting.
apocalypse.
Yeah. So the zombie apocalypse is upon us.
Excellent.
Turns out to be coronavirus, and this is the actually, I do think I said this before on the other shows. We've dodged a bullet because coronavirus started in October, November, and there were a lot of Chinese visitors, Chinese companies at CES in January.
That's right.
Could have been a nightmare. There was no coronavirus in January in CES, but boy, it could have been bad. We would have all come back, and there's a 2-week incubation. So people would have sickened.
Right, from all over the country.
And then dispersed out, and 2 weeks later, yikes.
Well, the good news department, maybe that would have been the end of CES. But
honestly, I think this might be the death knell of conferences.
Right.
Why do we even do this anymore?
I have no idea.
No. Yeah, it does make you wonder and worry. I mean, every year after CES, I used to come back and be so sick just like the CES flu.
Everybody says that. And so now we're thinking, gosh, maybe that's not a minor annoyance. Maybe that could be something much more significant sometime.
Well, imagine, I'll just pull like a PC maker because, I think about this stuff more like PCs, but your HP or Dell or Lenovo. I mean, how much less expensive would it be to go to New York for a couple of days, go to San Francisco for a couple of days, and then maybe if you have to cover, go to London or wherever in Europe and just do it that way. Rather than ship 100 people down to Vegas at the most expensive time of year to have a hotel. And they could just do their own things.
I'm glad I went.
The only thing you miss at those is the face-to-face networking, right?
Yeah.
No, but that's what I mean. In other words, these companies could do their own things.
Yeah.
And companies
that's more
already.
Costly if you have to go to 20 different events.
Well, they only have to have a few.
I think
the
internet has solved all this. I really realized this year, going to CES for the first time in 8 years, that it's like a football game. You can go in person, and that's fun because you get the feelings and the excitement. But you don't see the game. If you want to know what's happening at CES, stay home and watch it on TV.
Right, okay, but the analogy breaks down because when you go to the football game, at least you know where the football game is. Like CES, the football game could be anywhere. It's it's a stadium full of stuff, and you have no idea where the game is happening.
Very good point. That's the point being that it's hard to see the forest for the trees.
Yeah,
there's just so much stuff.
Even trying to meet people there, you're like, when can we do a meeting and where?
Right.
Or, the PC makers would be off site, right? And so now they all basically go to the same place. But I remember, years ago, Lenovo would say, well, we're at whatever the name of the hotel is. It's off the strip. But then you'd have to get there. And, if you've ever been to Vegas during one of these shows,
miles long.
Traveling around is terrible.
So why did Comdex die and why didn't CES die too at the same time?
Right.
What was the difference between those two? Because Comdex was bigger even than CES.
Yeah, it was. So I could only guess, and maybe someone's written something like this up, but it seems like as the IT industry consolidated to a couple of big companies, those companies became the central point, and they would have their own shows like Microsoft did does now with Ignite or TechEd back in the day. Salesforce has their own thing. That there aren't. In the consumer space, there are 1 million companies that matter. In the IT space, there are 5, and they're humongous. Not that there aren't a bunch of smaller companies, and they have their own events too, companies like VMon and VMware and so forth. So I just think the world changed. I think it's weird that CS kept going in a way, or is still going, because, A, it makes no sense. It's the wrong time of year, for one thing. And you can only have a show like that in certain places. So, you got to go to Vegas. CES, I remember Comdex used to have like a spring show. Or
they had two.
Spring Comdex.
Yeah. And so did CES.
Spring and fall Comdex,
So in the Wikipedia article, it says in 2000, a number of things happened. Major companies, IBM, Apple, Compaq, discontinued their attendance at Comdex. And then there was the .com bubble.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So there was such a scale back in the last Comdex Vegas show, November 2003, 500 exhibitors, 40,000 visitors. That's a big drop. That's 20%.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
They tried to bring it back, I recall. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like CES has morphed a lot. Like it used to be more about PCs, and then now it's like TVs and washing machines.
And IoT. It's an IoT show. But there's also cars.
Comdex never really did.
It was about
PCs. Comdex stayed about PCs, and it was a dealer show, right? Like that was the original Comdex. So
CES probably was originally that kind of a show too. Both of them eventually just let everybody in.
So maybe that's the problem. Mobile World Congress, which is basically mobile phones, has the Comdex problem. It's too narrow. CES is the only way that a lot of companies can meet potential dealers, can show products from all over the world. There's one place everybody goes. You get pavilions from every country in the world. I think maybe CES has more of a raison d'etre, has a rationale for existence.
Maybe. CeBIT lasted until a couple of years ago.
That was even bigger than Comdex.
Yep, and CeBIT was arguably the same kind of show as Comdex, I guess.
Yeah, but it's gone too, right?
Yeah, I think 2 years ago.
Computex makes sense because it's all the Taiwanese manufacturers bringing their new computers to one spot. So maybe CES will continue, but I have to say, I guess my question is, will the coronavirus scare be over, which it will at some point, and then people forget about it? I mean, we had, the pandemic of 1918 killed hundreds of millions of people. We forgot about that pretty quick.
What trade shows did that kill? I can't remember.
Yeah. It did not kill IFA, which I think was around back then.